don't you know drugs are everywhere, drugs are everywhere, drugs are everywhere, you can't stop it. Criminalize it, make a profit, a bowl, and throw it one time a day. Drugs are everywhere, drugs are everywhere, drugs are everywhere.
Hey, I'm Murph. I'm a former heroin addict, current alcoholic, and you're tuned into Self-Medicated Weekly Dose, a podcast all about drugs and the people who use them. As always, this program is inspired by the harm reduction movement, informed by my personal experience using all sorts of drugs for damn near 30 years, and enlightened by my special guests. Speaking of, I got a truly delightful human being joining me today. She's a writer, actress, and filmmaker. You've seen her on the ABC hit show How to Get Away with Murder. She also co-authored the hilarious book Cinderella and the Glass Ceiling and other feminist fairy tales. Please welcome to the program, Ellen Haun.
Hello.
Hey. Oh, the fans are here today and they're excited.
Oh, thanks to the fans.
Hell yeah. No, without them, we're nothing. You know what I mean? Without them, we're just two goofs, you know, doing a Zoom call here, you know? Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited to have you. I haven't seen you in such a long time. You know, made the move for the West Coast. I feel like, you know, I miss you and Drew both dearly. So it's nice to see your face. It's nice to reconnect here. What have you been up to lately? What is there to report? What kind of fun stuff?
Well, the most exciting thing that's happened today is that I'm in Los Angeles and we've been getting like all of this weather, quote unquote.
Sure.
But truly, I looked at the mountains today and they are covered in snow. It's like living in Colorado. It's really nuts.
Bizarre. Very bizarre.
It's very bizarre.
Yeah, it's like now, like LA, it feels like an escape from LA situation where you've got your fires now, you've got your floods, and now you've got your tundra weather. It's really,
yep.
You're getting your bang for your buck out there, man.
I took a lot of bad pictures on my iPhone, and I was like, look, see the snow, see the snow. And they're not good pictures. You can't really see the snow. No,
you can never see the snow. You can also never see, like, the moon. I'm always I've taken so many photos. When will I learn that the iPhone just won't see the moon? It's just not going to do it. But, but we keep trying. Well, yeah, listen, we got a lot to like dive into here today. Feel free to share whatever you want on your end. We got some jam-packed segments. We were talking a little bit off mic there about I'll congratulate you publicly now for your Super Bowl victory. You are a Kansas City Chiefs fan. I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, of course. So it was a wild one, losing to Big Red. Andy Reid was rough. Our pass rush. And Mahomes on a bum ankle, and it still just couldn't go our way. So, congrats.
Yeah, it was well. Okay, listen, I'm not just saying this as the winner of that game, but that was a great game,
was.
Both teams played out of their minds. Jalen was great.
He was
like
he played
any of this
a near flawless game, other than the fumble. It was nearly flawless.
Yeah, and I mean, I love Patrick, but he was. And Patrick was hurt, but Jalen kind of had a better game than Mahomes did. And I don't know. It was just a really incredible game. The best thing that happened was that my husband tried to get us to go to not one, but two different Super Bowl parties, both of which were hosted by Eagles fans.
Oh, yes. Double
one
dip.
of the... And I'm a pretty chill, like Kansas City football fan, but I was like, I'm going to be emotional no matter what happens. And
Sure.
I just don't want to be in an environment where there are a bunch of Eagles fans around me. And one of the hosts said that I was invited as long as I wasn't obnoxious, which I thought was rich coming from an Eagles fan.
Yeah. Coming from, well, I mean, we got to grease the poles in South Philly. You know what I mean? You talk about being obnoxious. Yeah, that win or lose, it's going to get salty with Eagles fans for sure. I love that Drew tries to make like a Mrs. Doubtfire situation where there's like, we have two Super Bowl parties. At least they're like both Eagles, so you didn't get comfortable at one if one was like a Chiefs fans party and then you say the wrong thing at the wrong time. You could have had quite the situational comedy on your hands there. I'll tell you, diving into this first segment here, we're gonna keep the ball rolling on Mr. Mahomes because this handsome devil's he's been in the news a lot lately. So I like to kick things off on the program with a little something called the Substance Report.
This is the question: do junkies' lives matter?
Now, Ellen, on the heels of this Super Bowl victory, the mainstream media's coverage of substances and the people who use them has always been kind of trash. So I like to give a kind of a fresh perspective on some of the topical drug related stories in the news. And this drug we're talking about today is a classic drug, one of my favorites, not my top favorite, but it's one of them. It's one I partake in a lot, and it seems to be one that Mr. Mahomes enjoys as well. We're of course talking about alcohol. So this article here is from Outkick, whatever this publication is here. But the headline says Patrick Mahomes vowed to drink 100 beers after winning the Super Bowl. So the exact quote is, "I'm about to hammer like 100 Coors Lights." I believe I saw this little video floating around on the Twitters and whatnot. So I can confirm that this was said. So what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on, first off, 100 beers? I mean, he's in the prime of his life. I'm not gonna sell him short, but man alive. I mean, I remember doing maybe some case races or like Power Hour. You get like a 30 brick down or something, in my heyday. But 100 seems like a lot.
100 does seem like a lot. But also, I can't imagine that he or many football players actually drink that much during the season. It seems like that.
Right.
Yeah, maybe. I bet beer is like a really good, like after a marathon, you want a beer. So I can imagine having some beers post game.
Yes.
But in general, I bet they're not actually drinking that much. So good for him. If he wants 100, he's earned it.
He has earned it. I mean, Coors Lights, they go down. if you're gonna do it, you're not taking down 100 IPAs. So the Coors Light seems like the move there.
I both think that Coors Light is the way to go, and also I want him to be having a better beer. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Once the writing's on the wall, if you're like, listen, man, you're not getting to 100. Maybe just like slow down and have something that tastes a little bit, because it's going to be running right through you with that Coors Light.
Yeah.
As was seen on the parade here, so many shots of just going to Pound Town. And, a lot of this is, you also be like, if you're getting 100, if you're counting that, I'm just looking at this photo here for the listeners. If you haven't seen it, check out that footage. People were flinging beers. I don't know if you remember that 80s movie Ski School. It was like it was this romp where it'd be like, just throughout the whole movie, there was this running gag where anytime someone held up their hand, a beer would just fly from off camera and they would catch it. So that was what was going on the parade for the Chiefs here. Is you see people just throwing everything, and he was just kind of crushing them. So, but I don't know if he's getting it all down the hatch there. Let's be fair. If he drinks all 100 like this, I'll give him like 50. You're probably drinking about half of that beer.
I got to say, I'm very proud of Kansas City, because that really feels like a team effort. Like, Pat Mahomes wants 100 Coors Lights. We're going to bring him 100 Coors Lights when we go to this parade.
Yes. No, I mean, that's the move. I mean, once he puts the call out, it's like, yeah, everybody's sitting there with the Coors Lights on hand, on tap. But, not everyone in Kansas City. So I also wanted to get your thoughts on this, because this, to me, of course, is ridiculous. But I don't know if it's the Midwestern sensibilities or what. But this is your Kansas City Star here. There's another piece. Not everyone was loving the parade, apparently. This is a real letters to the editor from the Kansas City Star from our readers. So these are one of those things where they're just pulling shit where I'm like, all right, this is like glorified Twitter. We're like, yeah, did somebody have a problem with something somewhere? Like, yeah, I'm sure they did. But I did pull this. The headline from this one says, Kansas City loves Mahomes and the Chiefs. Our kids didn't need to see them swill beer. So, I mean, Ellen, for the children, I mean, how could you possibly have a problem with this?
I think that, gosh, my heart goes out to these poor children that have never seen anyone drink beer before in their life.
That's right.
And Patrick Mahomes cracked open one of those 100 Coors, and their little worlds were shattered.
They were. And he cartoonishly just waterfalled it, and they just, their lives are never going to be the same.
Honestly, really, one of my favorite tropes in championship parades is just how shwasted all of the athletes get. Because look, they deserve it.
Yeah.
They've just reached this like career pinnacle. I remember going to the parade in New York after the U.S. women's national soccer team won the World Cup.
Sure.
And those ladies were shwasty.
Yes.
There was so much champagne everywhere, and it was great. And you know what? I was surrounded by children. I was surrounded by little girls looking up to these female soccer players as like the greatest athletes in the world. And they had a great time. They didn't care.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, this is joyful. This is not like, pounding a bunch of booze, driving a car, smacking your family around. This is a joyous celebration where I'm just kind of like, yeah, it seems like the Kansas City Star. I'm like, I guess because you've already now won, like on your second Super Bowl, you got to be nitpicky. I'm like, otherwise, it's like, enjoy yourselves here. Who are the letters to the editor? You put these couple of letters on the back burner here. I'm like, this. It seems like you wouldn't print it because I just pulled like one little one here, but they printed like 10 of them, and it's just like,
well, we got to present both sides, Murph.
Sure. All sides. There's always two sides, no matter what those two sides are. No matter how unreasonable, reasonable. Yeah, it's always two sides. And I think Mahomes can play both sides, double fist, and you win the Super Bowl, MVP, you can chug some beers. There's also that funny thing. Did you see that? I guess he somehow skirted. I didn't really look into this much more than just hearing about it, but something with a Coors Light commercial. So there's the whole thing where they can't do. Did you hear about this? Because NFL players can't openly do beer commercials. So I guess he did some sort of cheeky, like they were like, oh, these are Coors Lights or something, and they were like flashlights, but it was all like a entendre or whatever for the Coors Light, but he couldn't actually say it was. So then they started selling Coors Lights, now selling in the flashlight game, I guess. But that was a nice.
I had no idea that football players couldn't do beer commercials, but I guess of course that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess does it make sense?
I don't know if like they could do like what they could do. Be all that you can be. They got the military commercials flying around. They got everything else going on. I'm like, what the hell? I don't remember a time like that. Might be recent because I'm thinking back to like maybe this is NBA players now. I'm thinking about like Barkley. Yeah, because I wonder if there ever was like a time where I feel like those like 80s Bears teams, like there had to be like the Super Bowl Shuffle, Fridge Perry and Jim McMahon. They had to be doing some sort of Budweiser spot, I imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess in Goodell's NFL, there are no beer commercials to be had. But so Mahomes, Mahomes is he's riding high. He's dancing around. He's playing the game. He's having fun. God bless the young man. And I feel, you know what, Andy Reid, since we won a Super Bowl, I'm now comfortable just being like, all right, Andy, like I feel like you've been through a lot as a human being, and it's like we went our separate ways. And now that we've actually won a Super Bowl, I can be classy and just be like, I'm happy to see he outcoached. He outcoached us for sure.
I was going into the game that I was very happy that narrative, that both teams had Super Bowls and that we could all unite in our love of Andy Reid.
Sure. And you may not have made it out. You certainly would have made it out of two separate Eagles Super Bowl parties if we did not have a ring previously and then losing again. That would have been a sour scene for sure.
Yes, it would have. I don't think I would be here speaking to you today.
Well, now you're a runner, right? You run.
Yeah.
You run around. Because you mentioned too about like this idea of, because I haven't ran in years. I haven't really moved in a long time. So it's like there is something to the workout and then the post-workout booze sesh, right? Because everything's open, it's flowing. It feels like you might not need a ton to get drunk unless you're Mahomes, but other people like you might not need. It's like after a good run, you just have like a beer or like a glass of wine or a cocktail, and it's like you're feeling a little loopy. Is that correct? Is that accurate?
Yeah. The thing specifically with beer and like distance running is that your body wants the carbs after you're done. If you're training for a marathon and you're running like an 18-mile training run, then a lot of people will have like something like a Coors Light, something like kind of low-ish in alcohol, but
breadish.
Yeah, bready.
Yeah,
bready.
Yep. That makes sense. Yeah, I mean a bowl of pasta. It's like why not just pound a six pack?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a sensible regimen there. Yeah, I feel like I need to move. I need to move my body to earn a little bit more because it's like when you're just rolling around from the bed to the couch to the computer, drink. It's like you never really get those high highs. It's always just like a medium buzz floating along.
I remember having a beer. I remember having some beers after a marathon. I guess, and this was like, marathon was earlier in the day. I had the beers at night, and I had like 1.5 and was almost incoherent.
Yes. Yeah. Well, your body's, you're pushing that to the limit. The marathon running is crazy. I mean, that feels like, you really put your body through the ringer and then you get a little treat at the end. I mean, what do you think of Mahomes' ankle too? So he's saying he took no shots for the ankle. What's the deal with this? Is this because his ankle looks great as he's pounding these? This is now multiple photos we've seen here of these of this shower of Coors Light.
Yeah, and his ankle seems to be fine. He can walk around. I don't know. It's a weird thing with that guy because, everyone was making all of Twitter, and then everyone watching the game was like, okay, they're going to shoot him up with whatever they're going to shoot him up with at halftime. And at halftime, going into halftime, I genuinely thought the game was over. And because whatever drugs they give these athletes to continue to keep playing.
Yes.
Just really concerns me on so many different levels. Because if your body is saying, hey, I probably shouldn't be playing anymore, then you probably shouldn't be playing anymore. But gosh, as a fan, I'm really glad that Patrick Mahomes is a robot and also got superhuman drugs and was able to win the game.
Yeah. I just like to imagine him going in at halftime just listening to Rihanna and pounding a bunch of Coors Lights and being like, all right, let's just do this.
There is an all-time great picture of Kansas City quarterback Len Dawson when they won the Super Bowl in 1970 or 1969. And it's him at halftime sitting on a bench having a Fresca and a cigarette.
What a dainty a Fresca and a cigarette. That's a European move. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yep.
That's
French.
Baseball too is a great sport for that for many years. Wade Boggs just taking down legendary stories of him drinking full cases of beer during the course of games, smoking in the dugout. That's baseball when it used to you didn't have to used to be jacked. There used to be just, dudes who looked like me and all my uncles just kind of playing professional sports and smoking while they do it, which is something to witness.
Baseball you can wrap your head around. The football, I can't imagine having even a soda, anything carbonated,
right,
and then having to go back at halftime and run around and play another half of football.
Yeah, the Fresca and a butt, that is the serious halftime regimen for sure. Listen, Mahomes, bless and again, congrats to you. I hope to see those 100 beers because if you do something like that, you also got to get it on camera. He's already been tried out there. I'm like, if you're going to do 100. Let's get a counter going on the thing. I just thought about power hour. I don't know if you've ever done that power hour. It seems like nothing. It's just take a little shot of beer every whatever, but it's that adds up. Man, if I try to do that now, I would pay dearly for it. I feel like that would be the end of my month.
Did you ever play a game? Did you ever do Edward 40 Hands?
Oh yeah, Edward 40 Hands is a fun one. That's a great one. Yep. Great.
I did that once, but it was I was in a sorority in college. This was a very romantic couples event called Couples Edward 40 Hands. So you each had a 40, and then both of your hands were also taped to a bottle of Andre. So it was a team. You and your date had to finish the Andre and the 40.
This is a delightful night on the town.
Very romantic, very sweet. Yes.
Yeah, I do love the inventive, the nature of just because you're we could just sit here and pound, but it's how do we make this a little bit more theatrical? How do we make this a little bit more of an experience? And whoever came up with the 40 hands is a magnificent bastard. I do love that. It's been a while for any of those. I just can't I don't know, man. I just pay for it. I got to go low and slow. I'm at this point, it's just I can't. The binge is I just don't have it left in me anymore. Well, listen, we're to go back to my heyday. We're gonna go. We're gonna take a step back into the time machine here. And I specifically because you are a true actress of stage and screen, and we have the Oscars coming up around the corner here. So I wanted to do a little something. Growing up in the '80s, it was kind of the heyday for the golden age of anti-drug PSAs. So I gathered up a couple here in particular. I've got 3 of them, and I would love for you to be the Academy in this situation because these are performances now. These are not just your brain on drugs, the egg, whatever. These are truly people really dialed up for these in particular. So I'd love for you to take a look at these three PSAs. We'll stop in between each one and get some thoughts from the thespian in the room. In a little something I call propaganda, stigma, and alf.
Losers are users, so don't use drugs. Don't use drugs.
So these are the PSAs. First one out of the gates. this is just a bit of child acting that I'll just let it do the talking for itself. This is a dynamite performance from this young lady.
Well, I started on pot about a year ago, but crack really messed me up bad, and I started on that like a month ago. And I just wanted to see what it would be like. I said, nah, never to me, I can handle it. We tried some, and like a month later I couldn't live without it. I mean, I didn't think one time was gonna hurt me. I'm sorry what I put my family through. I never thought this could happen.
Now, for the listeners here, this is a very intimate, not a lot of bells and whistles here. They just kind of got a nice tight shot on this young lady's face, a little bit of light spilling in from the background. There's some cuts in there to get her to ramp up, but it was like, I don't know. That was kind of a very strange. I don't know what to make of that as a kid. You're just kind of like, huh. I don't know that it deters. What do you think of the performance, just first and foremost? Forget the messaging, but what about the performance?
Well, okay, so performance is only as good as the text. And I think that the text here was quite rich because she starts on pot, which is my favorite phrase I've heard
great phrasing
about marijuana in a long time.
Something kids say. Yep.
She starts on pot and then she goes to on crack. Then she starts on crack.
Yep, that's right.
And I just think I love the repetition of the preposition on. That really lets you know like where her life is.
Mm-hmm. I was on this, now I'm on this, and now I can't get off it. Yeah. There was a lot of prepositions. Yeah, the text. There's a little something to chew on there. It escalates quickly. I mean, she gave this great look too at one point when she's like, sorry for what I put my family through. And she gives these eyes that's like kind of like, so she made some choices is the point. She made a few choices there. And
there was clearly a makeup person on set that in one of the breaks came in and like really got her hair wet and sweaty.
Yes.
Like helped her get into the moment of having put her family through what she's put her family through.
Yes, she was on hair and makeup by the end of that. By the end of those things. Yes. You could tell that they were ramping those up to be like, no, she's not disheveled enough. This is a woman. This is a young lady on the edge here. We got to get her there. So yeah, they did ramp that up. So that's performance number one. Again, just a very intimate portrayal of of a sad teenager. The second one here now we're going to get into. There's a little bit of a reveal throughout for the listeners. We'll keep you. We'll try to paint this picture for you a little bit. But this is another very gut wrenching portrait here of a father.
Son, I figured when you were old enough, I'd talk to you about drugs. I'd tell you they're nothing but poison. Tell you to stay away from the garbage that pushes that junk. Only I never figured that I ought to be telling that to a 13-year-old.
If you don't teach your kids to say no to drugs, it's as good as saying yes.
So we pull back to in the cemetery there. He's talking to the gravestone. Thoughts on that reveal?
Wow, that's a lot. He was letting, I think, his hair do a lot of the work for him. Not to be, not to come in with a critical comment at first, but
little wintry breeze there at work.
Yes. And that's curious also because he was in, the reveal at the end of the PSA is that he's in a cemetery. And it also did appear to be winter time.
Snow on the ground. Yeah.
There was snow on the ground. So I was curious as to why he didn't have a hat.
No hat? No breath.
Hat.
We didn't see any of the cold breath. I don't know what was going on there.
Yeah, so it didn't quite feel, this is what didn't click for me. It wasn't lived in. I just didn't quite buy that his 13-year-old had truly died.
Agreed.
He was acting. I could tell.
Yes.
It wasn't real.
100%. No, I did not buy that for 1 second. They really were leaning on the dramatic pullback at the end. They were just wanted those tombstones to do all the work there. And again, like you say with the text was just a little strange. There was this kick for a while that was always like putting it back on parents, as if there was just this thing where it's like you just didn't talk to them. If you talked to you just didn't talk. You didn't give them the talk, and now that's on you. That was a very strange thing with that as well, as if there is some magical talk that could happen. And then I guess the message there as well, there's never too young. So it's like I didn't think 13-year-old I'd have to. Yeah, I didn't buy that at all, which makes it very awkward. It always makes it awkward when someone just can't quite get there.
Yeah, yeah. And seems like it was a tough day. He didn't have a great script. I gotta say, I guess this is, I'm being critical of the directing now too. Mm-hmm. I felt it was quite apparent from the beginning that we were going to pull back, and
they tipped it. They tipped it a little bit.
We were going to have a dead child in this ad in some way.
That's right.
So, you're playing the beginning. He was really playing the end of the scene at the beginning of the scene.
Yes.
Which is just, you
Good
can't
note.
do that.
That's a great note. That is a great note. You're right. Yeah, he did not take us along for that at all. They tipped everything from the beginning. And I still just didn't buy it by the end. At least with that young lady in the first one. Now she had there was a little cut jobs there going. It was kind of like a YouTube tutorial situation where it was very close up. So they're doing some jump cuts and disheveling of her hair in between each cut. But yeah, so he didn't have the benefit of that. That was, I think, just one continuous shot there. So I'll give him that, I guess. But
yes, good point.
Yeah, but the direction was poor. Might have been a shittier script than even in the first one. But that's where
it felt like a production that was really gunning for awards season. And when you want it too much, it's just
no.
You don't like it.
Yep. You're already seeing it's for your consideration. You're already there, and it's like we haven't even established. Like I don't know anything about you or your son. I don't even believe you have a son. I think you've snuck into some cemetery. You're underdressed, like for the weather. You're bumbling around in the cemetery. It's like I don't believe any of this. Well,
completely agree.
This third one is going to be a nice little. There's an Easter egg in here. This is a narration piece. This is a little walk through the home, the family home here, memories. As the tragedy unfolds. But I would like to see if you recognize our narrator here in this one. And I don't want you to, if they happen to be a name, we're still trying to give these on the merits here. We're not trying to do so. Let's just see if you recognize this little emotional roller coaster narration.
When she was 6, after a few scrapes and tumbles, her dad taught her how to ride a two-wheeler. When she was 9, he helped her build a telescope that could see the moons of Jupiter. When she was 14, after a lot of giggling and giving up, her mom finally taught her how to hit a wicked two-handed backhand. All through her growing up, Susie's parents taught her well. But for all their love and attention, there was one lesson left untaught. Susie's parents never taught her about drugs. They never told her that drugs maim, drugs kill. So Susie learned one final lesson on her own. When you don't say no to your kids about drugs, it's the same as saying yes.
Okay.
I have two guesses, and the first one I don't think is right. But my first thought was that it was the Robert, the guy from Unsolved Mysteries. But I don't think that's right.
Robert Stack.
Yeah.
No, not Stack.
Robert Stack. Not Robert Stack. And then my second thought was, is it the
Maybe
guy
you
who
could
hosted?
help solve a mystery.
Yeah, exactly. And then my other thought was, is it the guy that hosted the the missing kids show on TV? Shoot, I don't.
Not America's Most Wanted. That was. Is it him?
Maybe it was America's Most Wanted.
Because his kid, his kid was kidnapped.
Yes.
And then America's Most Wanted was just at large or whoever, whatever. What the hell was his name? Walsh. Walsh? No, what's also really funny here is, and I may very well get called out on this, but I'm going to still try to say it confidently. I wanted to double check before we recorded this to make sure this was, but I think it's Martin Sheen.
Oh, okay. Yep.
I think it's actually a younger Martin Sheen, I believe.
Yeah. That
does that sound right?
That sounds like him.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Yeah. There's some
The other thing that I love about Sorry, the other thing that I loved about this one is the sound mix, because you've got his voice, you've got his like great booming voice that is able to reflect the sinister nature of what's happening, and then also there's like spooky sounds.
There's a little haunted hayride feeling, and for the listeners, you're kind of walking. It's this walk through her bedroom. You see the telescope. You see everything that he's narrating there, and then at the end, I believe, I'm not quite sure what those drugs were. I don't know if she was huffing there. I don't know what the thing was. So it looked like kind of like a crack pipe, but then there was also some other apparatus that looked like maybe she was trying to huff something. I don't know what exactly fell to the ground and smashed. And again, the messaging just being like, she just didn't know drugs would kill. The whole problem there was just the lack of knowledge. It was just she thought that this was a free ride. She was feeling great, getting high, partying, and she was like, "Oh, there's no downside possibly for this." So it was just that they didn't tell her. They taught her the backhand. They taught her the moons of Jupiter, which was a nice poetic. I thought this was the best script of the three. I would say still a little corny, but
I think I agree with you because there is a story. There's a narrative arc,
Yep.
Even I would say the runner up is our first one, our teenage girl but we don't really know what got her on pot and then on crack.
We don't.
I suppose we don't know that here either, but we know her backstory.
Right.
That she can play tennis.
She can play. Yeah, she had a wicked too. Well, I mean, I guess what just got on drugs is just that she just didn't know. She wasn't given the talk. The parents just never mentioned drugs, which is, I think, at least the second two both had that issue. So yeah, I think that I don't know who Martin. I don't know. He's not the father either. I don't know if this is like a neighbor or the voice of God. I don't know. I don't know who exactly he is in this scenario, but.
I think he's the voice of God.
Yeah.
The God of parenting.
Yes, the God. Yes, yeah, the God of. I mean, the guy Martin Sheen is, as we know, the God of parenting, winning. I mean, he gave Charlie the talk. That's. So I feel like if I had to pick, it's also unfair because you get to do it's always fun to do some narration. But there seemed like I don't know. I believe that he was taking us there, but I still, the wild card is that girl. The guy in the middle for me is a bust.
Yeah, I think that so of these three, if I were going to compare each of them to like our Oscar movies this year, our last one I would say is Top Gun Maverick. There's a story.
Yes.
We're on a journey.
Yes.
There's a celebrity involved.
That's right. The details are still vague. We don't know what country they're going to war with, but there's shit happening. There's something going on. Yeah.
Big picture. And then your first one is of just the girl talking to camera. I mean, really, that's like women talking. It's an indie movie.
Yes.
With just one girl talking.
Gritty vibes. Uh-huh. Yep. It feels a little experimental with we're going to keep it tight on her. Yeah. I feel that.
Some cuts. And then I think the second one is Babylon. It's pretty obvious.
Yes.
We know where it's going.
Yes. Very, they fell in love with themselves a little too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we've got this great shot and we're going to do that.
Yep.
And then that's like all the substance that's there.
They're like more tombstones. It's like more cocaine, more piles of more debauchery, more of the set pieces will mask everything we're lacking in script and in just people not being dialed in at all. I haven't seen Babylon, to be fair, but I feel like it's kind of a camp situation. And I did hear that there was a lot of cocaine. My understanding is Margot Robbie was like telling the director, this is cartoonish. This is not how people do cocaine. And he was like, well, it's got to read.
It was cartoonish, but everything about the movie was cartoonish. So it didn't stick out in that way. It was this is an amount of cocaine that is appropriate for this movie.
In this world. Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, this is the I feel like our young up and comer. I feel like, I think she might be the dark horse that steals this. Sheen's got enough. Think he doesn't need it.
The Academy loves to give Best Actress to a 25-year-old ingenue. So let's give Best Actress to this lady.
Yes, I wonder if that woman. Because how old would you say she was in this piece? I'd say 15, 14.
Yeah,
14?
It's the 80s thing of she probably was 15 and I think she looked 30
or 30. Yeah,
not in a mean way.
No,
just
but
in
by
her
the
hair,
end,
and that's
by
the way
the end,
people
she
looked
was
in the
she
80s.
was a frazzled 30. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was on 30 for sure by the end of that.
Yes. She started on 14 and she ended on 30.
On 30. That's what those cuts were just like an age. She was in like she was just in a Dorian Gray situation there. Is that right? Isn't Dorian Gray was aging a lot? Yeah. So, I wonder what she's up to now. If that were me, I would trot that thing out once a year, I feel, and show my friends and family and just be like, this is the time we sit down, we watch. I tell you the behind the scenes. They're like, yeah, we know. They kept putting like Vaseline in your hair or whatever to make it stick up. Like, yeah. That would be my crown jewel if I had that on the old resume.
I think I would use that a lot in, the game where you have to do, say, 3 things about yourself and 2 are true and 1 is a lie. I think I would include that one a lot.
That's a good one. That's a good 2 truth lie situation for sure. Well, listen, Ellen, I want to get to 2 truths and a lie. You can see if we can even get that into here if you want. We're going to keep the thespian vibes rolling here. We're gonna come off of our mini Academy Awards celebration, and we're going to step into a little bit more of an intimate setting with the great Ellen Haun, and we're going to go inside the user's studio. It's so funny. I just had a panic moment where I was like, I don't know where these glasses are. And I'm like, I put them right down here underneath. They usually are up here. I was like, well, I'm going to have no glasses. I should know these questions by now. But as always, we end our podcast session with the weekly dose version of the questionnaire that was used masterfully for 24 years by the great James Lipton inside the actor's studio. And the first question is, Ellen Haun, what is your favorite drug?
I was in college, I think, at like the end of cocaine being like the party drug. So that was like my party drug of choice.
Yes, cocaine. Yes. There was a time when it was decent before it all just went to hell. What is your least favorite drug?
Oh, God. I really don't tolerate weed very well. And in California, I don't know. I think I'm a little too anxious and type A. It's not my favorite.
Yes.
So yeah.
It makes sense. Cocaine, type A, you're out there, you're grabbing the world by the horns. You can't be.
I don't want to relax.
In the clouds? No, Lord, no. What age were you the first time you found yourself under the influence?
16?
16. Sweet 16. What celebrity's overdose death has had the most profound effect on you?
Oh, Prince.
Yes.
That was really sad. Because I think also it took, it was a little like surprising.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, most overdose deaths are, but yeah.
Yes, but yes, it seemed like that was a slow train crash into a brick wall. It seemed he had been deteriorating, but still performing. So yes, I agree that was a rough one. What is your favorite slang word for cannabis? Your least favorite drug, but your most favorite slang word for that drug?
Well, I think honestly, I learned it today, and it's the phrase "on pot." I think I'm going to use that. I think I'm going to use that going forward.
On pot, indeed. What drug would you like to deal for a living?
Oh, you know what I would be really good at? I know I just said that I don't like weed, but I would be really good at like starting a chain of dispensaries that are like girl boss weed dispensaries.
Ooh, yes.
This is an alter ego would be like, yes, queen, let's get you your weed.
Yes.
I would do that.
The glass ceiling, edibles, all the way up through and busting through the glass ceiling. I love the girl power dispensaries. That's absolutely a necessary. What drug would you not like to deal under any circumstances?
I think cocaine. I think we're learning that.
Ooh, this is coming all the way around now.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the one that you like to consume, you do not like to dispense, and vice versa.
Yeah, because I think weed people are in general more fun. And I just wouldn't want to spend my time around like people that like wanted to buy cocaine from me.
Yes, for sure. And especially if you're you're nickel and diming, there's a lot of you're on call a lot of times, and it's it's always that thing where you see someone, we'll get this 8 ball, it'll be good for the whole night, and you go, all right, 2 hours for you now, you're going to be coming back. Yeah, that's a whole demand situation. No girl boss cocaine. Cocaine
No.
Bear, but no girl boss cocaine. Have you seen Cocaine Bear, by the by?
I haven't seen
Speaking
Cocaine
of Oscar
Bear,
pictures,
but
I mean, Christ, if Top Gun can get nominated, Cocaine Bear may very well be right around the corner. And
hey, directed by a woman.
That's
Girl
right.
boss Cocaine Bear.
Elizabeth Banks, girl boss Cocaine Bear. And finally, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear Prince say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I just want to hear him playing a concert. I just want to hear him doing his Super Bowl show, like kind of on a loop. As long as he's happy doing that.
Sure. I imagine up there he'd be enjoying a fine performance. Man's a born performer. Well, Ellen Haun, here are your drug users. Listen, it has been wonderful. Any parting words? Any last thoughts in Oscar season here? I'm stretching Oscar season to be just months now.
I think that I would like to give that young lady in that PSA who was able to deliver the line, "I started on pot," very convincingly. I would like to give her Best Actress for this year.
It's statue time. Yes.
I apologize to Kate Blanchett, but it's her. It's this young lady's time.
Yes. Sorry, Tar. Yeah, that's well, if you're out there and listeners, listen, sometimes people want to be left alone, but if not, if anyone could find out who this woman is, we'd love to be able to give her a proper ceremony for her contributions. Ellen, thank you again so much for doing this. Any socials, any things to tell people to follow you? Where should they check?
I'm
you out?
on Instagram at Ellen Haun, which is my name, and that's the only social media I have. And I'm kind of trying to be on it less, but you can follow me there.
Yes. Excellent. Well, thank you so much again for doing this. It was a pleasure catching up with you. And thank you to everyone for listening. This has been your weekly dose.
Hey America, there's needle users sleeping with your children, with your daughters, with your sons, and with your husband.
Self-Medicated Weekly Dose is hosted and produced by me, Murph Meyer, with support from Pop Culture Collaborative. Our theme song is My Congressman by 15, courtesy of Jeff Ott and Hopeless Records. Original artwork and production design by Diana Kolsky. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the program, you can listen to new episodes of Weekly Dose every Wednesday. Just look for the Murph Meyer is Self-Medicated feed wherever you get your podcasts. While you're at it, subscribe to the Self-Medicated YouTube channel to see new video clips from the show each week. Follow me on Instagram at Murph Meyer. And for some top-shelf harm reduction resources, head over to selfmedicatedpod.com. Also, don't forget, you can call the Weekly Dose podcast anytime to leave me a voicemail message with your thoughts on drugs and the people who use them. Just pick up the phone and dial 443-MK-ULTRA. All right, that's about it for me. I'll see you next week. Love and solidarity. Goodbye.